Hello, Simply Spam. Today we're going to be talking about NFL free agency winners, losers, somewhere in betweeners, and kind of the fantasy outlook of every move that we've kind of seen of note that has happened thus far. So I got my tea. Let's get talking. So today, Mr. Mitch Trubisky decided to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, leaving fantasy managers kind of in a tizzy right now. We are all thinking about the fantasy impact that he will have on guys like Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Pat Freiermuth. I mean, these are all fantasy relevant guys that can definitely make or break a fantasy year if they have good or bad years. So we really want to know what is Mitch Trubisky going to bring to the Steelers that Big Ben was lacking or that Big Ben excelled in. So I believe Mitch Trubisky really leaves for higher ceiling and lower floor games, simply because I believe Big Ben threw a lot of intermediate passes to guys like Deontay Johnson, guys Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth towards the end of the year. He was really helping those guys flourish, but guys like Chase Claypool, their stock was taking a massive hit because Big Ben did not know how to throw the ball past 15 yards down the field without it being wildly inaccurate or underthrown. So Chase Claypool, his stock probably goes up in this, where Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris, their stock goes down just a little bit. I know Mitch Trubisky is definitely an upgrade as far as a winning culture is concerned in Pittsburgh compared to what Big Ben was providing there last year, but I do believe that Mitch Trubisky is definitely going to be downgrading guys like Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris simply because of the fact that he just won't be doing as many intermediate passes. There will probably be a little bit more rolling out of the pocket, kind of improvising with a Mitch Trubisky offense. So that's where Mitch Trubisky is. I do think that the ceiling is higher with the Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole. Maybe not as a whole as far as fantasy relevancy goes for their receiving core. I want to talk about is a guy who just got paid today. A guy who got paid where you don't really know why he got paid as much as he did. But Christian Kirk, the wide receiver 3 last year on the Arizona Cardinals, seemingly came in and got the bag from a team that was desperate for wide receiver help. Obviously, they were literally throwing the ball, like I said in one of my previous videos, to Jamal Agnew. They were throwing the ball to pretty much anybody who came off of the street. Laquan Treadwell, he came off the streets pretty much after being a first-round bust in many people's eyes. He was just, no names. They were throwing the ball to guys that most households didn't know who they were. Christian Kirk is definitely an upgrade as far as wide receiver help that they had last year overall, but I do believe that his ceiling is going to be a little bit capped because Trevor Lawrence still doesn't have the rest of the supporting cast around him. He will get ETN back. They still have James Robinson. I believe that they will find guys in the free agency like they did with Evan Ingram. That I believe they overpaid both of them. I do believe tight end this year, him and Will Dissly both signed the ugliest 2 contracts that I've seen, even uglier than what I believe Christian Kirk's was, because I believe that they were both overpaid based on the value that they're going to return to their team. And as far as team needs go, I believe that they really needed offensive line help. They really needed a lot of different facets of the game. And I don't think Evan Ingram or Christian Kirk really were the guys that could have given the most bang for their buck as far as who is available this offseason. I do believe he's going to be a good. Now, I believe he will be a solid wide receiver 2. I do believe he jumped from wide receiver 3 conversation to solid wide receiver 2 conversation because as what we saw when Trevor Lawrence likes to lock onto targets like he did with Agnew, like he did with Treadwell, he will get them fantasy production, fantasy relevance, and especially in PPR leagues and even half PPR leagues, they will score the points that you will need from them, especially in maybe a flex spot or something. It's definitely worth a flex spot on Christian Kirk. So I believe that the winner here is definitely, outside of Christian Kirk getting the bag, I believe the winner here is really Trevor Lawrence because he finally gets a legitimate wide receiver, maybe even if it's not the wide receiver 1 they want. I believe they're not done in free agency or in the draft as far as getting offensive weapons, and I do believe that Trevor Lawrence will take a step forward this year, and part of the reason will be because of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, no matter how much they are getting overpaid. Excuse me. So the next guy I really want to highlight is Mr. Russell Wilson, getting traded a couple days ago to the biggest trade in NFL history, Denver Broncos. They definitely were not shy, were not bashful about going the Matt Stafford route and ridding themselves of any future picks that they really would need to help make them relevant in the next couple of years. They really wanted to go all in. Obviously shows what the Denver Broncos believe of the franchise in the current state. They believe that they can win now. I do believe the winner here is obviously Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, maybe even Russell Wilson, because the Seattle Seahawks are obviously tearing down right now. They are not looking to build up. That's kind of why I thought the Will Dissly signing was a little ugly, signing a guy for 3 years, 24 mil for a guy who has never really even eclipsed more than like 300 yards in a season. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But I believe Russell Wilson is definitely a winner here because he kind of gets a fresh slate, a GM who is definitely going to try to put him in a position to win now, and definitely going to give him the opportunity to maybe gain what he wants to gain. I believe he will have influence in that locker room, that in the ear of the execs. I believe if he wants something, he'll probably be able to get it in Denver, just based on how much they're willing to give up to get him. That shows they respect Russell Wilson and what he can bring to the table and the winning culture he can bring to Denver a lot. So winners here: Russell Wilson, Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy. They're all big winners, and I believe that was a good move for the Denver Broncos as a whole. The next guy I would like to bring up is Davante Adams. And right now, free agency's hitting, and he's seeing these wide receivers signed for these deals that he should probably be getting a lot more than them in these free agents. I mean, he probably saw Christian Kirk signing and said, if I played this year on the franchise tag, this wide receiver 3 made wide receiver 2 will now be getting paid more than me, even though I've been the guy every year. I've been that dude every year for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, my quarterback literally came out and told you guys that I am the best receiver he's ever played with, and he's played with a heck of a group of wide receivers before. Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, just a few that were really, really good wide receivers before and after Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it speaks wonders about what Aaron Rodgers thinks of Davante Adams, and I think Davante Adams knows that if they're bringing out the Brinks truck for Aaron, you might as well bring out the Brinks truck for me too, because I'm not playing to get paid franchise tag money when I want big dog money, especially. I'm going to be rolling into my age 30 season here pretty soon. I'm not playing on 1-year deals like the Packers would hope he would play on, but going to be interesting to see how the Packers play this one out. Especially just signing Rodgers, it would be really hard to see them letting Davante Adams go. But I guess we'll see. That could really, really impact their free agency signing as well, because if he won't play under that, it's going to. I'm sure they had plans to try and sign another wide receiver, if not draft another wide receiver. So interesting to see how that plays out. So I'm going to be monitoring that pretty closely in the upcoming days. So another guy I want to talk about is Mr. Amari Cooper. He has been a guy who has got some mixed reviews from the league as a whole. He is probably going to definitely be an upgrade from what the Browns had, definitely, for sure. One of the best route runners in the league. Disappears at times, but also has boom games at times when he's playing competition that he should beat. He does beat them. He is not a guy who sinks to the level of bad competition and rises to the level of good competition. He definitely rises to the level against bad competition and sinks against good competition, like many do. So I believe he is definitely a guy worth rostering later. Maybe in the mid rounds in drafts, but not. I wouldn't roster him too high because he's still got Baker Mayfield. As long as Baker Mayfield's the quarterback, throwing the ball to him. So I believe he is no higher than a wide receiver 2 this year. I don't believe he really has wide receiver 1 potential, no matter how much Baker targets him, because we know when Baker likes to lock onto wide receivers, they turn into OBJ, and OBJ's relevancy in Cleveland was not very relevant. So, um, winner, definitely the Browns because they needed a wide receiver. Loser, I think Amari Cooper in the situation because he doesn't have as competent of a quarterback any longer as he had with Dak and as he had with other guys helping him take some of the attention away from him, like CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and even Cedric Wilson. I believe he's kind of a loser there because now he's going to be um, drawing all the attention on the defensive side of the ball. And the next guy that I really am going to be super interested to see where he signs, and I think I have an idea where I think he's going to stand, DeSean Watson. DeSean Watson is probably the most polarizing signing out of any team, out of any player that will sign with any team, just because he obviously has to waive his no trade clause. He has to really like the situation he is falling into, and he has to definitely carry his baggage into the NFL locker room with him after just going through all the legal troubles that he's been going through. So it's going to be very interesting to see what teams are willing to fork up, what teams the Texans are willing to even talk with. I know they just declined the Colts from even talking with DeSean Watson because obviously they don't want intra-division scrutiny. They don't want scrutiny from the media. They do not want to see him twice a year, and they don't want to have to compete with him for years to come. So it will definitely be interesting to see how the Texans play it, how DeSean Watson plays it out. I do believe the suitor that really, really, really wants him bad, but it'll be interesting, like I said, to see if DeSean wants to go there is Carolina. They have a very aggressive GM who is willing to pay money to win, and the smaller market teams like Carolina, it's hard to find a GM like that. So I think it is an intriguing place for DeSean Watson to play. I believe as a player that would attract me to play there. And I believe the same thing probably will happen with DeSean Watson, especially now that Sean Payton's gone. I believe the other spot that his possible landing was in New Orleans, but I believe probably the most enticing to DeSean will be the one who is saving up the most money, putting the most pennies in the piggy bank in Carolina. So I do believe that is probably where he'll end up going. But again, I don't know the meetings. I don't know the behind the scenes. So if I had to guess right now, I'd probably say Carolina, but something I'm going to be monitoring very closely and something that you could try to gamble on if you are trying to gain wide receivers or offensive weapons from whatever team you think he might go to, because he will obviously present a massive upgrade as to whatever team he gets traded to. So that will definitely be interesting. Now, I believe that the biggest winner of the week, I saved them for last, even though he wasn't signed in free agency, is obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the big winners here. Obviously, any Tom Brady owner in a dynasty league. Obviously, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans owners. Obviously, anybody who owned anybody on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady is obviously, he led the league last year in passing and passing touchdowns. He is definitely a fantasy relevant quarterback still going into his age 45 season, and I just don't see any reason why anybody would stop targeting those players, even in dynasty leagues, because who knows if Tom Brady is going to ever want to retire now that he was itching after just 2 months to get back onto the field. I just want to send a solemn apology to the man who just got done paying over $500K for the last ever Tom Brady thrown touchdown. Man, you got bamboozled, to say the least. Sorry about that. But some interesting ones that I haven't yet talked about is signing back with the Arizona Cardinals is James Conner, and signing over with the Dolphins is Chase Edmonds. And I think that's very interesting because I still believe Chase Edmonds is a complementary piece. I still believe James Conner has some health concerns. He had a great year last year. It's a guy you like to root for just because of his backstory, but I still believe he has some health concerns, as he's shown kind of in the past. So it was kind of an interesting re-signing, especially a 3-year deal for a guy who's going to be under contract till he's like 30 now. So that's definitely something to monitor. But but I believe obviously James Conner owners are probably pretty happy. Chase Edmonds owners are probably pretty happy as well. We'll see if come draft time if the Dolphins are satisfied with just having Chase Edmonds on their team.